Hello guys, and welcome to a brand new video from me, Pickles Parker Reviews. Now, it's been a few months since Series 12 has aired, and I've kind of kept quiet on my thoughts about the series as a whole for quite a while now. Obviously, I've recently put out my initial thoughts, which I really should have uploaded at the time, but I just could not be bothered to edit them. But obviously it's been a few months. I thought about it quite a lot, and I decided to make this video to talk about how I would fix Series 12 and the Timeless Child arc, because believe it or not, I don't think it's a terrible idea. I think there are bare bones of this idea that I actually really like, and I'll be explaining that in this video. But I think some of the choices made and the overall execution of the idea, not just in the final episode, The Timeless Children, but across the whole series looking back, I just don't think this arc was well implemented. I think it was Chibnall trying to replicate a Moffat story arc, but he didn't really do it fluidly. What you want about a Series 6 and all the episodes just intertwining and not many being purely standalone. At least you could say that the arc is well intertwined into the episodes, and you don't just have clear episodes that have nothing to do with the arc in between episodes that are very arc heavy, which kind of makes certain episodes feel a bit redundant, especially with the series marketing, where they're really saying, oh yeah, don't worry about these filler episodes, it's only 2 episodes till the epic 2-part finale. A very strange way to market it, because you're essentially deeming these non-arc episodes as filler and not important. A bit unfair on these episodes that have nothing to do with the arc. It is annoying when an arc can really change your perspective on a series. That's quite disappointing. Personally, that hasn't really happened to me before, mainly because I didn't get amazingly heavily invested in a lot of the Moffat arcs because I was too young. I literally only started watching Doctor Who with The Girl Who Waited when I was 7. Ridiculous place to start, I know, because the next 3 episodes are just getting all this arc heavy stuff which I wouldn't have witnessed before, and I was completely confused, yet loved it all the same. And obviously Series 7 doesn't really have too much of an arc, and Series 8 and 9 and 10, I guess, either the arc wasn't amazingly present, like in the case of Series 9 and 10, so it was hard to get invested, or in Series 8, I still was quite young, so I didn't get so invested in the arc that I could determine it disappointing, for example. Whereas this was the main time, I guess for me, it's quite weird that it's only just now, after I've maybe been watching Doctor Who for 10 years, that I think an arc has really felt disappointing, and you look back on the series and you're like, oh, I don't know about that. Has it really made the series worse because all what you were building up towards has turned out to just be nothing and to be really disappointing? So today I'd like to try and fix the series as a whole in terms of the arc. I'm going to be trying to stick to as many episodes as I can. For my idea, you would have to have an extra episode put in there, so I don't know what episode I would necessarily take out. I'm thinking Can You Hear Me at the moment, but that's probably just because I wasn't the biggest fan of that episode. If we could have an 11 episode series, then fine. Don't think too much about the logistics of this episode wise. Yeah, let's just talk about this. So in Spyfall would stay pretty much the same, and it ends with the Master in the TARDIS goading the Doctor and talking about the Timeless Child, and the Doctor goes and sees the destroyed Gallifrey. So that's staying the same, and I know I did moan about the destroyed Gallifrey, but it's going to have a point to be in my version. Stay with me. So he says about the Timeless Child, he says about she sees Gallifrey destroyed. In my version, the Master destroyed it with the moment. Obviously, it's never really made clear how he destroyed it, which is a bit annoying in the episode. But in my version, he destroys it with the moment. And you may think, well, how did he get his hands on the moment? But think about it. In the Day of the Doctor, the War Doctor never uses the moment at the end. So what happens to it? Where does it go? The Master could have quite easily got his hands on the moment and used it to destroy Gallifrey. But then he starts talking about the Timeless Child, and this is the main thing that I am changing. The Master says, why would I tell you more, that would be too easy, like he does in the final thing. But what I think is that what will be very good is that the Master has left certain pieces of information in different locations for the Doctor to go and find. Very similar to the Key to Time arc from season 16 of the classic show with Tom Baker. Each episode would be the Doctor going there to collect a piece of information and then gets enthralled in a mystery. So the Master has set loads of little tidbits of information in different locations about the Timeless Child that the Doctor has to go off and find. So he's not telling her all it now, she's got to work for it, and she's got to find these little bits of information. And in every single episode, the Doctor will find a new bit of information that would tell us slightly more about the Timeless Child. So maybe in Orphan 55, it would be the child fell out of a portal. Maybe in Nikola Tesla, it would be that the child was picked up and that the child would cheat death. I just think that would just be a better way to do it, because as I mentioned in another video, I've been rewatching all of Doctor Who, and with my family I've been watching the revived era in chronological order, and I've been watching series 5 at the moment, which is my favourite series of the revived series and one of my favourite series of all time. And I think it's easily the best way the story arc was ever handled. I like the Rusty Davies story arcs, but it wasn't just like a phrase put in there sometimes and then you have to wait a few episodes to find out what its relevance is. With Moffat, you had the crack in the first episode, and then slowly over the series you would find out more about it. You'd find out its assets. You don't find out that it swallows people and it erases them from time in the 11th hour. You have to wait till Time of Angels, Flesh and Stone to find that bit out, and then in Hungry Earth, Cold Blood you find out that the TARDIS is going to explode, and you find out the date of the explosion and all this stuff. It's really well done. It builds up towards the series, so in the finale it's not a case of what the crack is, but it's just watching these events that the Doctor's been learning about more unfold. And that's kind of what I would like for series 12 in my version. So it's not just the Doctor learning a piece of information in the final episode, it's the Doctor learning the information over the course of the series and putting it in a story by the end, so that information becomes relevant, like series 5. So yeah, the Master is in the Casavan dimension at the end of Spyfall. He's left the Doctor the thing. She goes back, sees Gallifrey destroyed. He says, I destroyed Gallifrey because of the Timeless Child. Not going to tell you why. You'll have to work for it. I've put various pieces of information in various different places. You'll have to find it. And therefore the Doctor will just go off, and the places she's going to in series 12 are only because she needs to find the information. Each place has a bit of information that she needs to find. It is exactly like the Key to Time season. That's what I'm basing it off. And that's how we're going to have the companions kind of start turning on the Doctor, because they just want to have fun adventures, going off to a variety of different places. Series 11 had a very fun feel-good feel, but the Doctor is almost getting obsessed with this. She needs to know why the Master destroyed Gallifrey. She needs to know why. And she's going to get slightly obsessive, and rather than just be in some episodes and not all, you will start to see this, and the companions are going to get annoyed. Why can't we just go on adventures? That's what we wanted. Why do we have to go to these certain places to find these pieces of information the Master left? Why does it care? Why do you want to know about the Master so much? And that's going to bring out a slightly darker side in the Doctor. Fugitive of the Jadoon was an episode I wasn't a big fan of, but for these purposes it's gonna play out very similar. I think you could weave the Captain Jack stuff in a bit better and weave in the Roof Doctor stuff a bit better, but overall I think that needs to stay relatively similar. Obviously the Doctor will start learning these pieces of information, and then we get to the Haunting of Diodati, where the Doctor's only come to Shelley's place because of the information. So the Haunting of Diodati ending stays relatively the same. The Doctor gives them the Cyberium, and the Doctor needs to then go to the future and stop them. Because all the humans are decimated, the Cybermen, rather than having destroyed them, are a very strong force and have converted them all. So there's not many people left to convert in this reality. So what does Sideman want to do? Open up a parallel universe and convert everyone there. Obviously this subtly links to Fugitive of the Jadoon, because by putting Ruth in Fugitive of the Jadoon, a hidden doctor we don't know about, it is opening the opportunity that she might be a alternate universe doctor, which is the idea I'd go for if I was making series 12. Then obviously in this Sideman story, we're then opening up the alternate reality concept that was first seeded in Fugitive of the Jadoon. The Sidemen go through it and the Doctor defeats them over 3 episodes, I'd say, Haunting of the Diodati, Ascension of the Sidemen, and a third Sideman part, maybe called like the conversion of reality or something, I don't know. But the big change I'm making is that the Sideman stories and the Master story don't immediately connect, but they do through ideas. But the Sidemen and the Master have very separate storylines. Because I think tying in the Master, Gallifrey and the Timeless Child with this random Sideman story, it didn't mix in the Timeless Children, and that was one of my biggest problems with it. That it builds up this Sideman story and really does nothing with it, and naturally that's a shame. So I think that we're going to have this kind of 3-part Sideman story. Doctor defeats them, stops them converting people in the alternate universe, but obviously she's there. And then she picks up the last piece of information and realises the only reason the Master wanted her to get to Shelley is so that she would follow the Cybermen and be brought to the alternate universe. Just side note, I forgot to mention this, Captain Jack is going to be in the Sideman story. That's how he gets the message across in Fugitive of the Jadoon. He's going to be in this Cyberman story, but obviously he's left at this point. The Doctor picks up this last bit of information, and she's learned practically everything about the Timeless Child. Obviously being in this alternate universe, she's just defeated the Cybermen, but the Doctor has the idea that she can save Gallifrey in this dimension. She can't save it in ours because the Master destroyed it, but there's an alternate version of Gallifrey that she can stop the parallel events happening. That's why we have this alternate universe thing, which has obviously been seeded in with the Roof Doctor and the Cybermen. And the Sideman story was relatively contained, but now this idea, because we're already in the alternate universe, it's going to feed in to the final episode, the Timeless Children. The Doctor wants to save Gallifrey, this alternate version, and then she picks up the last piece of information, and we practically know everything about the Timeless Child now, as we've learnt it across the series gradually. And the final reveal is that the Timeless Child is the reason for regeneration. That these people manipulating the Timeless Child, as the Doctor saw, were Gallifreyans, and that their whole history of regeneration is built on child torture. Yeah, that's going to hit the Doctor pretty hard. Essentially, the Doctor is then going to have a dilemma to make. She really wants to save Gallifrey, but then knowing what it did to the Timeless Child, does it really deserve saving? Now this is going to bring out, the worst in the Doctor, because the Doctor's really stuck now, and she really contemplates not saving Gallifrey because of what the Master has told her. It's the Master's plan. I want to build upon this. I thought this would be a really cool angle. So we saw how in the Capaldi era, the Doctor was trying to make the Master good, and so they could become friends again. The Doctor and the Master need to both be good to be friends. Now what if we take it a different angle? So the Master wants to be friends with the Doctor and wants to try and make her bad. And her choosing not to save Gallifrey was his whole idea to try and make her turn over to his point of view, and so they could see more clearly. That's his ultimate plan. By destroying Gallifrey and seeding this Timeless Child, it will give her a similar situation to what the Master had, and to try and convince her to make the same choice so they can be friends again and see eye to eye. Obviously the Doctor doesn't choose to destroy Gallifrey, because obviously regardless of what the Time Lords did, they still deserve saving, because that's the Doctor's mentality. The Doctor saves everyone. Obviously that diffuses the Master's plan. It's the end of the story. The Doctor saves Gallifrey even though Time Lords did some horrible stuff. The Master lost. And then you get an epic showdown where the Doctor has to stop an alternate universe version of the Master destroying Gallifrey yet again. Yeah, that's my idea for Series 12. I just think it would be a bit better. Seeding the Timeless Child across every single episode, and rather than saying, oh, you're going to be revealed stuff, and keep on saying, we're going to reveal something, you actually learn about it across the series, so there's only one revelation about it in the final episode, and then you build a story around that. I really like the idea of the alternate universe stuff, Ruth being an alternate universe version of the Doctor, which isn't explored too much in this series. She's mainly only there to see the possibility that there's an alternate universe going on. But she can come back in later stories. She can come back in Series 13. And I think that it just works better as a finale. That the fact that we're building a story around the Timeless Child rather than just telling us what the Timeless Child is, because we've already learned that across the series. We can have a really cool showdown where the Doctor has to make a difficult choice. What she learned about the Time Lords isn't great. Does she still think it's right to save them? And the Master's kind of manipulating her. That in with a couple of episodes which really explores the alternate universe side with the Cybermen. Just tells a good Cyberman story. I think it would just be the best overall package for this series. An arc that is threaded across the series and really works and isn't too controversial. It just brings the best out of Jodie's Doctor, especially after Series 11. She gets to have some really dark moments in this, and the fracturing between the companions would be more prevalent here and would have more reason to exist. It would be more consistent across stories. Yeah, this is just what I would do to fix Series 12 and the Timeless Child arc. It's an idea I'm really fond of, actually. Now, this is all easy for me to say after the fact, and hindsight is a wonderful thing. I've had months to think about this. Chris Chibnall, you know, I'm not saying that he should have come up with this, because at the end of the day, I've had a lot of time to think about this. Maybe in hindsight he would have changed what he did. I don't think there's much likely at the end of the day of this even entering Chris Chibnall's fray, because it's quite obvious that the only reason he decided to add the Timeless Child arc in was not what it would contribute to the Time Lords, but was that he wanted an alternate backstory for the Doctor. He only added the Timeless Child in because he wanted the Timeless Child to be the Doctor. So my idea that you can still have a compelling story with the Timeless Child not being anyone, just being a child who was exploited by Time Lords, Chris Chibnall was likely to have not done. Obviously, in my idea, I just think it just threads it better across the series, better uses the Timeless Child arc, better uses the Cybermen, and just tells a better story, essentially. What do you think? Do you prefer the Series 12 version we got on screen? Do you prefer my version? Do you have a better version you want to put in the comments? And if you do, drop it down in the comment section below, because I'd be really interested to hear your thoughts. We all have different opinions about the Timeless Child. You guys know I got quite annoyed about it initially. But I think taking a step back, we can use it to perhaps create some better stories, because not everything in Series 12 was terrible. It's not the end of the show. Doctor Who is not dead. Series 12 actually had some good ideas in it. It's just how it used those ideas that I think was the main problem. But that was my idea. Did you like it? Did you not? Drop it down below. Thank you guys for listening to my rambling thoughts. And of course, a goodbye.